This is LT Melton with FetchYourNews.com, and I'm here with Gilmer High School head football coach Zach Grage. Coach Grage, you guys are implementing a new, I guess, a new program, working with the youth program and the middle school program. Talk a little bit about what you guys going on with the youth program.
With the rec right now, it starts with Kevin White, Jeremy Sellers, working with their coaches and their coaching staff and trying to get as much of our schemes implemented as possible. And it's crazy because you go from 5 years old to 12 years old, so there's a lot of different variations as far as what can go on. But we'll have weekly meetings with their coaches. I have an open door policy that any rec coach is allowed to come in here at any time and talk football and just kind of see what's going on. That's been occurring all summer. And we actually had our big one last night with all the coaches involved, where we all gave a little overview, myself, our coordinators. And it can be, like I said, a 5-year-old can learn what position they're playing and learn how to get in a good stance, compared to a 12-year-old possibly putting in the shotgun snap and actually running a few of our plays. Then there's a wide variation, but we're all trying to get on the same page. Being able to watch the kids practice when they start up here in a couple of weeks, being able to go watch a couple of games, and get the staff out there and get our kids out there. That's more important. That's what I told the coaches last night. If Garrett Sellers or Thaddeus Bowers or someone like that's able to go and watch their practice and maybe give them a little pointer here and there, that's going to mean a lot more than it is coming even from myself or one of their dads, or they really look up to our kids. We got to use that.
Now, I'm glad that you mentioned that you have your athletes and your players helping with that youth program, and mentioning that the youth tend to look up to the players. How does that help the overall community and just Gilmer football in general?
Well, you look, the great thing that we've got going here is a lot of our players, are from here. They've grown up in this. So when I was talking to them, we actually had our youth camp about a month ago. And I asked our kids, I said, hey, if you got nothing to do tonight, just come on out. When you were this age, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, 3rd grade, whatever it happened to be, you went to the Gilmer football games, and who did you like? And they started naming kids off and naming numbers off. And Coach, I don't remember their name, but I remember their number, and I loved them. And I said, well, now I understand, you're those guys. So, and then we're going to keep continuing that whole process, that if we can breed the natural talent here and just keep that going up through the program, then they look up to Thaddeus, and now they're going to be the ones that the next kid looks up to, the next generation. So, and our kids love it, and that's what's impressive to me. I don't have to force anybody. The one day that I asked, I just said, hey, if you got nothing to do, come out 6 to 8, or at the rec league's doing their own little camp over at their place, and I'll say, y'all just swing by there on the way home, and there'll be 40 to 50 kids that, basically anybody that can drive comes out, and they enjoy it, and it's fun. It's a little bit different, being able to hang out with the kids in a much more relaxed setting. You get to know them a little bit better and just watch them interact with the younger kids. And like I said, it's a lot different. It's still football, but they like it. They like it.
Now, speaking of football, you guys competed in some passing camps over the summer. Talk a little bit about some of the work you guys are putting in the summer and how it's coming along.
We started June 1st with a week of optional. Everything we've done so far has been optional. But June 8th is when we really cranked it up, and we do any combination of lifting, conditioning, and practice. And that practice can be from an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the day. Some days we condition, some days we don't. We try and keep it, moved around a little bit, just so the kids, don't get stale and stagnant. And coaches the same way. Weight room wise, we've been going 4 days a week. That's a little bit different than what I'm used to, but we're really trying to hammer home the importance of the weight room. So every day we come in, we do lift, and the kids are really, they're taking everything in stride, and they're doing a great job. And I think I know it's a little bit different than what they're used to, but you wouldn't tell it. And you just make little slight adjustments every single day. Within our practices, within doing the lifting, we've also done a couple 7-on-7 tournaments. We went to the Northwest one. It wasn't a real big one. There's some local teams, and we were fortunate enough to go win that one. And then we had the big Dalton tournament this past weekend with 32 teams, and it was really, really, really good competition. And right now we're overmatched, and that's just the way it is. And we just try and look at our kids competing and putting forth effort in those 2 long days. but it was good. We still got better. And if it was nothing else, that we started understanding, okay, here's where we need to be, here's where we need to get to. And this last couple of days of practice have been really good because we were able to refocus and say, okay, this is where we're lacking, this is where we need to get better. And then even more important than the 7-on-7s, we went to North Murray. They had a team padded camp last week, helmets and shoulder pads. And we're about to leave for the next 3 days and go to Northwest Whitfield. They're hosting a similar type camp, helmets and shoulder pads. And, it's GHSA approved, and it's great. They're kind of going to the NFL OTAs, is what the organized team activities. And that's where our kids, it's the whole team. So, you get that bonding time. It's great. It's not just throwing every down because, say what you want about 7-on-7. It's still competition. But you do start getting some techniques that aren't great, especially defensively, with linebackers that just run backwards every snap. So it's not real football. This is more real football, minus the special teams. I wish we can find one with some special teams involved. But, letting the kids thump around a little bit, you finally get the linemen like it the best because they finally have something to hang on to. We block out here in the practice field, and the D-line are just slipping off because they just were wearing their workout gear, and we get frustrated. But that's what I really look forward to. Plus the kids, have to wake up early. They get home a little bit later. It's not a camp because we're not staying overnight, but it is something where, you see how committed they are, and they do get a chance to go around and compete against somebody in a different color, which is always great.
I'm glad you mentioned that the padded versus the 7-on-7, because obviously Gilmer's strength over the last few years, and I would assume coming into next season, is in the line. The guys only lost like Jake Ingram, I believe, on the line. How is that different when you know that your strength is in the trenches, but you're at a passing camp where trenches really aren't a part of what's going on?
I still think that is our strength. There's no doubt. That's where a lot of our leadership comes from. In the box, I would even say outside the trenches. We've got Noble Zuschlag and Luke Bramlett, and especially defensively, Russell Cochran, and that's where, you're, I guess, the salt of the earth. That's where you're really built. And then, but what we've got to get better at throwing the ball. Everybody knows we can run. I think our offensive linemen are very confident in running the football. We're actually really good as far as pass pro goes right now. And again, it's just one-on-one situations. It's a whole different ball of wax whenever you get a full team blitzing, and they do different schemes that way. But those help us also, because in the team camps we played Sprayberry last week, and they brought the house every single snap, and we just had to pick it up. And then of course it helps your quarterback understand. That's the biggest thing for Tyler right now. Is the other bad part of 7-on-7 is you can get lazy in your drops. You might throw the ball where the center would have been standing instead of getting back deep. And getting him behind the line, understanding where pressure's coming from, moving around in the pocket. Coach Luck's been with him, and he's been great. And, just kind of a calming influence for Tyler, because I'll get after him pretty good. And it's built in the trenches, but I think the best part for us with these team camps is saying, okay, here's our offense, here's our defense, here's the entire thing. We're not necessarily focusing on runs or throws, but we're putting the whole thing together with runs, throws, screens, freezes, any downfield throws, anything that we can do. Defensively, the same thing. Okay, we can work on stunts and blitzes and everything against trash cans, but how does it work when everything comes together? So getting all 11 guys on the same page, and really something else that I wasn't ready for is our sideline management, and not so much that it's unorganized, but just that the kids, they'll pay attention, but they're just kind of dead.
Right.
They really don't know how to react when, if Drew Dyer comes down and fills the alley and smokes somebody, then they just all kind of stand there.
Right.
And it's one of those that we're kind of learning how to react to being successful, and it's good. And like I say, I never knew that you had to coach that, but apparently you do a little bit, and just let the kids know it's okay to get excited, it's okay to celebrate, and it's within its realm, it's okay to play a little nasty and get under somebody's skin as long as it's between the whistle.
Right.
Still trying to, and I've heard about our tough kids, but I want some, we just got to get that little, I guess, the it factor that nobody really knows what it is.
Right.
But we're still working for that.
Now let me ask. It sounds like you've centered on a quarterback. A lot of people have been asking. Obviously, Chris James was a senior last year. Who is your quarterback this year?
Right now, it's Tyler Button. He's a junior. And then we have a sophomore, Damian McHugh. And Damian plays everything. He actually, in our last passing league, he played at least one snap at every single receiver position and at running back. And we just kind of happened to fall across that. So quarterback's just one of the many things he does. And then a kid I really like that's going to come along really strong is David Smith. He is a ninth grader, but he's one of those, you talk about the it factor, and he has it. And he's still learning a lot, but he's got all the tools once he gets a little bigger. But right now it's Tyler Button. You know, Thaddeus Bowers is going to be back there a little bit in some different packages. And, you know, we'll be multiple with that. But Tyler's going to be the guy that we hang our hat on. And you know, it would have been nice to, when I first met Chris, and we were able to come out and we actually threw on the field a few times trying to get him ready for Valdosta, and you know, he was able to leave a couple days ago. It was been really nice to have him back for another year. But then with the progress that Tyler's made since day one, I mean, we're not going to skip a beat as far as that goes. There's still a learning curve. There's still some days where, you know, you're like, Tyler, what do you think? What is going on?
Right.
But for the most part, Tyler had a great spring. He's brought that into the summer. He's got a great relationship with his new quarterback coach, and it's good. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, I'm glad you talked about the growing pains, so to speak. Putting in a new system, and especially going from a traditional kind of a ball control offense to the no huddle attack. How has that been implementing it, and the conditioning factor? Like you said, when they're in the weight room, it's a little different. How does the team been taking that, and how has you as a coaching staff been with you know, just trying to gauge what they've done to what you do? There
hasn't been, and I like to gauge like looking at other teams. And that's one thing I think that put us over the top at Northwest at the 7-on-7. We started out that day 0-3. We won a ball game. Went into lunch and then won and lost another one. Well, anyways, while we lost, we were looking, and I'd made the kids watch another game, and I said, look at those kids walking around, and we won't call it out, but it was just, look at those teams. Are you going to lose to a team that's doing that? And the kids were like, Coach, you wouldn't even let us do that in practice. No, you're not. So once they saw that, and I think they start to see the fruits of the labor a little bit, that they understand they're not tired. You know, they're not tired. Now, we're still trying to look for that 100% effort every snap, every rep, you know, every time we do anything, whether it's from the weight room, transitioning. You know, we were stretching the other day in the gym, and I had to get on them about, you know, we're too slow in between stretches. I call it a stretch. I'll blow the whistle. I want it done right now. We're not kind of moseying around just because we're stretching. Stretching is still an important part. So the coaches have done a fantastic job, and we talk all the time. The kids' energy, the kids' tempo is going to reflect directly what we're doing. So if we're kind of down that day, or we're tired, or we don't want to wake up that morning, then the kids are going to do the same exact thing. They feed off of us, and vice versa. If we're flying around, jumping around, having a great time, then it's amazing how they look and try and do what we do. As far as the no huddle up tempo stuff, again, the kids, every time we challenged them, every time we put it on them and said, this is what we want to get to, they've done it. They've done it. So that's not, again, are we fast enough? No. I don't know if we'll ever be fast enough to where I'm satisfied, but it always keeps you on your toes. The new schemes, like I said, we're learning every day, offensive and defensive schemes. Weight room wise, you know, there's always something where I'll have to turn the music off and stop them for a second and say, all right, fellas, this, you know, I forgot to tell you this, or maybe it's something I look at the sheet and I'll say, oh, this is easy. You know, we shouldn't have any issues today. Right. And then we'll get to the first or second quarter, and I'll be like, well, okay, never mind. But again, it's just learning, and the kids are doing a great job with it, and just understanding that it's a program, and it's a mentality that we are fast, and we're tempo, and we're getting the physicality part with it, and because we're still not, weight room wise, we're looking at the Dalton kids, you know, or at that tournament, and just looking and saying those kids are just thicker than us. Right. They're just, you know, let alone the fast, or, you know, fast twitch, or you see the, you know, we might be tighter than some other people with our hips, and we're working on that stuff. But it's amazing when we stretch. I always tell the kids, remember where you were at, you know, on May 30th. Right. And let's see where we're going to get to on August 2nd. You know, when we actually get rolling. So we're getting there. We're getting better, but it's still a process.
Now, let me ask, just to wrap up, you filled out your staff. Talk a little bit about your position coaches, who's new, who's staying, and everybody's job and what they'll be over.
I wouldn't say I filled out my staff yet.
Okay.
Now, we have 8 guys right now, including myself. Last year, they worked with 10.
Okay.
Including Tank. So we're still technically short 2. And I don't know if those are going to come along. We spoke the other day as a staff and said, we were fully bought into the idea that we were going to have 8 guys, and we were just going to do the best we could. And if 2 guys come along, then that we want. Right now, we'd rather keep the 8 guys and stay strong as a group right now, instead of just kind of find a guy off the street that we don't think would help. So if we find 2 guys that can help us, then there's spots available. That being said, right now the offensive coordinator is Caleb Bagley. He came over from Northwest Whitfield. Went to school at North Murray, so he's from this area and knows what's going on. He's an OL guy, so it really helps me with the run game, and I kind of piggyback with him with the throw game. But the goal is to give it to him and let him do it, and he just kind of runs some ideas by me, and then go from there. We'll all game plan together, of course. Right now I'm working with the receivers and kind of tag teaming the running backs with Coach Terry Luck. He's the one I've told everybody this, so he's the resume guy. He's the one that he's been around for a while. He played at Nebraska under Coach Osborne, played in the NFL for a little bit, quarterback. Very strong Christian guy. He's big in the FCA. He's just, with all the young guys I got running around here, including myself, he's the one that can kind of rein us back in and say, okay guys, let's make sure that what we're doing is sane and not get anybody hurt. But he's working with the quarterbacks and also a lot with the running backs, just because that's where we're short one spot.
Right.
Coach Wilson is working with the tight ends. He's also helping Coach Bagley with the OL. But the tight ends are so important in this offense that they have their own guy.
Right.
That is Coach Wilson's deal. And then he helps out a bunch with Coach Bagley, especially when the tight ends are involved with the offensive line.
Right.
That he's able to go there. But he's got to know the run game, the throw game, similar to what I've got. Because the tight ends have to do it all. Defensively, Sean Tome was the defense coordinator. He's been here since right after spring ball, and he's doing a fantastic job. Another previous head coach. That's where I got him from South Carolina. He was a head coach, and then now able to come back and wants to take a little step back and try and learn before he goes on to bigger and better things, I'm sure. And you got Matt Banks. He's a hometown guy.
Okay.
He's working with the D-line. He was here. Coach Wilson's also a holdover from the previous staff. Coach Banks has been here. Does a fantastic job with the D-line, and we'll sit in our staff meeting, and it might be anything from where's this business, or where's this restaurant, or tell me about this kid's family. He's the guy that and I just kind of look at Coach Banks, and he's always got the answers. He's been here, he knows what's going on. Casey Wingard did offense last year. We moved him over to defense. That's where he played at Georgia Southern. He's helping with the D-line. Really, right now, he's a scratch where it itches guy, because Coach Tome can put him, D-line wise, that's kind of where he feels strong. But I know the other day he was working with the linebackers, and Coach Tome was working with the DBs.
Right.
And just kind of mix it up and just get in where they fit in. And then Michael Baker is a guy that's a baseball football guy. He actually came from McCormick High School in South Carolina with Coach Tome.
Okay.
And he's working with the DBs right now. So technically we're still short a DBs coach, because we want to split those 4 spots.
Right.
And in this defense, actually 5 spots. We want to split those into 2 different ones. Right now, Coach Baker's handling all 5 on his own. And then offensively, if we find a running back guy or receiver guy, then I'll be able to focus on one or the other.
Right.
Just depending on what that guy wanted to coach. So we feel good about the 8 guys we're working with. We'd like to have the 2 more, of course. But it's strong staff. They work extremely hard.
Who handles special teams?
Right now it's everybody.
Okay.
Coach Wilson is kind of pegged for, when we work on special teams, he's the one that said, I go, Coach Wilson, what do you want to work on today? I want 2 things. And, it's something we do PAT every day, try and get those snaps, and we have a specialty period before practice. And then Coach Wilson's the one that's going to come up with the drills, but all of our coaches are going to be involved in special teams. If I'm in charge of kickoff return, I'm still, going to have certain coaches responsible for looking at certain sections of the field. It's not just going to be one guy doing it all.
Right.
Because like I told them, I think there's two things that the kids hate to do, and it's special teams and it's weight room. If you try and put one guy in charge of either of those or both of those by himself, it's not going to last very long because he's going to get burnt out. So even in the weight room, you know, if I'm coming up with the workouts and kind of running the show in there, I still have, there's not one guy just sitting around.
And I guess really the actual final question, when it comes to your offensive line, I know it's you know, in vogue, zone. Are you guys going to be a man blocking or zone blocking? And obviously, if you don't want to tell me that to give away anything, that's fine.
We're both. We're both. If you take, I just had lunch with the fellow yesterday that asked me, he said, "What do you do on offense?" And, you know, I'm always willing, I'll show you tape and I'll show everything that we did, you know, in Moultrie and are trying to carry over here. And Coach Bagley really brings a new, just fresh look at, yes, this is good. What do you think about trying it this way? And it's awesome. So we're both. We run zone schemes, we run man schemes. Where, you know, we'll still gap down and pull and do everything, you know, some of the wing tee concepts that there's even been a few plays where we thought, hey, let's change the name to Buck, because that's what it is.
Right.
You know, we haven't done that, but it's just something where we kind of do it all. You know, we try and incorporate as much of the Alabama run game as we were able to learn, and then still with some, you know, sophisticated throws and some screens, and so we try and read as many people as we can read, whether it's a lineman or a linebacker, and sometimes a safety, and, you know, just depending on what throw we want to have off of it, and try and give those D linemen as many different looks as we can, whether it's a double team. Sometimes we don't block them, sometimes we, you know, down block them, sometimes we reach them, sometimes, you know, there's all kinds of different things that we try and make a 16-year-old kid try to prepare for in 4 days, and it's tough. So we're very multiple in that sense, but the kids are having to do a lot because they're having to learn, you know, we're not just a zone guy. You're going to have to, you know, be zone, and we still try and preach physicality. It's not a finesse block.
Right.
And that's what Coach Bagley is. We're still downhill. We're still through their shoulders. We're still trying to get to the next level. It's the same as what they're used to with the, you know, down block and pull around, but we also have that as well. So it's a lot. It's a lot. But it's really a lot more simple than people might think, and we'll see what happens in a couple months.
Well, Coach, good luck, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, LT.